Welcome back to Tools and Track. It is officially summer and therefore time for these bad boys to come back. I apologise, comrade. In the end of our last episode we got all the panels on for the floor, which is a good thing. As you can see, I flipped the chassis upside down, or right way up, and we're now going to start doing some more non-floor related things because 3 episodes of putting panels on is probably plenty for anyone's attention span, including my own. So what we're going to do today, as you can see, I've got the handbrake put back on, so I'm going to finish off getting these cables routed. There's going to have to be some mounts and some welding for that, so that's interesting. But the most important thing we're going to kick off today panels. Yeah, so we've made half-arsed attempts at many things on this, and the first half-assed attempt I made on this was basically extending it and then ignoring it completely because, well, not for any main reason if I'm being honest, but this stuff is messy, and what I need to do now is trim off a lot of excess, flatten it down and start filling it in. Now, that's never fun in anyone's book, especially because some of the glass fibre is actually protruding beyond where the fill line would need to be. So we need to trim it down, do another few skims of glass fibre, and then we're going to fill in the gaps. After that, I think it's about time to look at this clamshell, but we'll get to that in due course. First up though, let's get the flat wheel out and all of the PPE on. Okay, that seems to be good enough. Now we're going to try some glass fibre filler, and of course I'm going to have something to squeegee that in with. I am a student anymore, so we'll go with this. Got another batch of H primer because we ran out when we were doing the front of this, and it's a completely different colour. But it's still H primer, so you know, this won't be the final colour, so we should be okay. So this is glass fibre filler. I can't remember the name of the channel actually, I may be flying up the bottom of the screen, but I was watching this dude and he was making some crazy body kit with it, and I was like, of course, glass fibre filler. Obviously somebody's invented that. Premium quality glass fibre bridging compound. So this is going to fill in all the gaps, because with the best will in the world, you can't just keep glass fibre up to where the gel coat is. It's not going to work. So we're going to take it as close as possible so we can get a sand and a skim on it so it looks like it's supposed to, well, not be cut in half. We'll maybe have to do a wee light skim of our regular filler just to make the difference up, but I think this stuff still works the way normal filler does. It comes with a squeegee, so that was a waste of a hunt. We've got an activator and the filler, so the best way to do all of this is a big slab of cardboard and just mix it up until you're ready to go. Now this should maybe say on it what the ratio is, 50 to 1, so a dollop to a pea. It's a wee jobby! Section of angle iron with two 19mm holes. Yes, you better believe we are getting very technical this far into the project. That's all it's going to need to be, really. However, I have a number of places where, you know, you could run these cables. You'll note here that we're going with a less conventional route. Now if you look at a different angle, you'll see why, by all accounts, running it through the underneath of this bar would have been ideal. However, the angle for the cables is going to be a wee bit too steep. And also, just to be clear, if we run it under here, when the handbrake's off, the slack's going to be bloody close to the prop. However, if we run it up in this direction, the angle of everything just goes out the way. That doesn't, however, come without its own challenges, because putting it through there means we're intruding into where my elbow's going to go. So at some point in the future, we're going to have to encapsulate that in some way, shape or form and make sure that I don't have, well, handbrake cables popping out. We also will need to work out some way of protruding those two cables through whatever sheet to put on here, but we'll get to that in a bit. For the moment though, we need to get this guy attached and add a bit of strength. Well, it's not the most refined solution, but it does work. As you can see, nice and slack here. 2 and 3. 3 clicks there, and it's tight. I will say this, quite clearly the handbrake cables I've got are totally seized. They'll be full of rust and death, and I can tell right now that there's only really one of them that's actually pulling. So at least I know this setup works. We'll just add a pair of handbrake cables to the shopping basket when it's time for them to actually go on the car. What's next? Remember when we hooked this guy up, I had this wee plunger, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that's for. It instantly reverses the direction of this, check it out. That's pretty cool, if I ever need to instantly reverse the direction of a drill. Well, we always knew that this bonnet was going to give us some problems. Obviously we've widened out the scuttle and the nose cone is still exactly the same width, so we're going to have to take her out. Now I've been chewing this over for a while, and to be quite honest, whatever I do, if it doesn't solve it, this is junk anyway. So I'm feeling a bit gung-ho about it at the moment. I think what I'm going to do is this. We've got 2 slits here, widening out the scuttle panel. So what I'm going to do is just run from the middle of these slits right down to the front, on each side of the bonnet. Widen it out whilst not actually cutting all the way through, and then, well, make up the gap. Now, I know and you know there's probably going to be many other angles that are going to fall out of alignment because of that, but I'm going to have to just suck it and see. If it doesn't work, this was never going to work anyway, we'd need to do a new bonnet, but we're here, we've got it, we might as well try it. What are we left with, apart from a workshop that smells like a bad day at a boatyard? Well, we're left with this. Now, there's some good and bad things about this. Good thing, this will work, because, as you can see, we have 2 sides that, obviously, a wee tweak and a wee twist here and there, but I've put a wee clamp on there just to hold that in place on the side. So the two sides are supported and are sitting more or less where they need to be. Now, where the shut line, I've got a cheek to call it anything a shut line on this. It's basically just one big block of plastic doom. But panel gap here isn't going to look great. Obviously, the angles are going to be slightly out. This might also have something to play with it because it's no longer perfect. But what we can probably get away with is a wee line here because it's going to be a rough and ready race car. And therefore, a bit of gap for some engine bay cooling isn't the worst thing in the world. What I need to work out though is how I now make something out of this. It's solid. Much in the same way as we did for this, I'm going to get some ribs to go across here just to support this panel, and then we're going to, from the bottom, fill it in with glass fibre. It should look okay once it's all done. Forgive the bowing, obviously there's no structure under here now, but there will be again soon. Listen, it's going to get me through an IVA and it's going to look presentable. It's not going to look mint, but if you think that's bad, wait to see what I'm about to do with this. A slight change of pace from what we did before, I've decided to do the glass fibre on this thing in sections. You remember on the scuttle we did it more or less all in one, and it went okay, but you know, this is a new thing for me, so it's a bit of a learning curve. So what I'm doing here is pacing myself. I'm also doing it back to front, if that kind of makes sense. What we've done is flatten off a V channel into the top, and we're putting a skim of glass fibre over here. Now that's not going to be very strong, but it's going to start us off with the panel now being the width it needs to be. What I'm going to do after I've got a decent enough skim all the way around here is flip it round and repeat the process on the other side. Now we didn't do that in the other one because I didn't really lengthen it and add the strength in a particularly smart way. We just put big sections of angle iron on, and it was quite intrusive. It actually kind of got in the way. What I've done here is put smaller blocks of wood just to add the stretch in, and we've clamped things off to keep the alignment right, and then we'll put the glass fibre in with duct tape underneath it, and that's just to stop it sagging off. So this might work, it might not. This is all about the learning curve here, so I'm going to give it a go and see. For the moment I'm going to move these wooden blocks just to add strength in other bits. I've still got a little bit of a sag on this end that I need to bring up, and yeah, we'll add some more glass fibre. What I should have done is learn from the mistakes I made on the TVR. You see, this is the process I used on the TVR. Putting a layer on each side with a V on each side so that it's adding the strength back in. I might have shot myself in the foot a wee bit with the scuttle by not doing that, but we'll see how well it kind of holds up. Also, I've been having a wee think about some other things that we can do while, you know, all of this is going on. There's also another wee thing I'm going to do to the chassis, because let's be honest, I'm never going to be done welding the chassis. There's a couple of bits of strength that I've not put in, and to be quite honest, the book actually does kind of stipulate we should have done that ages ago, and it's around about where the diff mounts on the top. Now I've kind of left that out because A, I didn't know where the handbrake cable was going to route, and B, well, because I'm not really finished putting strength in behind the seats. But we'll get onto that in a wee minute as well. For the moment, let's get this fully glass fibred, and then back to the drawing board with the wall. Right, coffee time. I'm looking to put a bit more strength into this guy. It was highlighted in a lot of the book plans, although there's no specific measurements for it. You can see it in a sort of 3D diagram that there's meant to be more there, but I think maybe there's differences between the diffs or something. Whatever reason, there wasn't diagrams. Of course, Now that I've actually started to look at it, I'm starting to see why they didn't really get into it in too much detail. Because logic tells you a spar that goes from there to there is going to be the most obvious thing to add strength. You're triangulating here and here, and then you're also putting more focus onto supporting this guy, which is where all the torque loading is going to be. The problem is, for me to go from here to here, I'm going in a downward trajectory, and I'm going to end up touching the top of that if I do so. So the next option I'm going to have is, well, can we go horizontal? Now, as luck would have it, we certainly can, because I've been thinking for quite some time now about adding more spars into this, i.e. more sort of lattices to make a more or less W that goes like this. So I think what I might do is add in another two so that these come up and meet in the middle here, and then onto those two I'm going to project a line here. The good part about this is it doesn't just give me strength here or strength here. It's actually creating a nice lockout area strength in amongst all of this. Two-way triangulation, if you will. So if I've got from here to here, and then from there to there, and then to there to there, it sounds like an absolute mouthful, but trust me, it adds a lot of strength. And I think we could do a bit of strength, especially if we're going to talk about putting a bit more power through the back end. This isn't a quick process by any stretch. Every time you do this, well, every time I do it, it's 24 hours to set, so I am also out of this, out of glass fibre, and out of ideas, out of motivation, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Next time, we're going to look at this clamshell in the back, because, well, that's the last bit of glass fibre I need to deal with, really. So until then, I'm going to say thanks to everyone running up the side of the screen, Patreons. I did actually ask in a previous episode, by the way, and I did have a good few folk come along. So to everyone new who's just joined, massive thanks for the support. Hope you stick around. Patreon.com/chosentrack if you want to be at that level of awesome. If not, cool. Just do the like, subscribe thing, like I always say. And to be fair, a good few of you do that as well. So again, I appreciate it. We'll be back next week, probably with more of this. So hang around. And until then, drive safe, guys. I.e. more sort of lattices to make a less